If you're a product manager, I'm guessing you've felt it. That kind of low-grade anxiety that you're falling behind on AI. I know I did. For the longest time, I was just drowning in a sea of AI hype, bookmarking all these articles I never got around to reading and just staring at a blank chat box. So this is my story of how I went from that paralysis to making Gemini a practical daily partner in my work. No fluff, just what actually works.
Okay, so instead of starting with a bunch of theory, I want to show you the one thing that just completely blew my mind and made me realize, okay, Gemini is different, especially for us product people. We're going to start with a little bit of magic.
So check this out. I went to Gemini 2.5 Pro and I gave it this exact prompt you see on the screen. And this isn't a simple request, right? I asked for a fully functional interactive dashboard with widgets, charts, animations, even sample data. I was basically asking it to be a junior developer and spin something up for me.
And this is what it did, in about 60 seconds. Seriously. On the left, that's my text prompt. On the right, that's the live, coded, and fully interactive dashboard it built from scratch. This right here, this is Gemini's superpower for PMs, the ability to prototype an idea faster than you could even sketch it on a napkin. This is the moment I really sat up and started paying attention. That wow moment was great. But let's be real, it came after months of feeling completely overwhelmed. So let's rewind a bit, because my journey to get to that point, well, it probably sounds a lot like yours.
This was me, 100%. Every LinkedIn post, every newsletter, it all just felt like this constant reminder of how far behind I was. I was just collecting resources, not actually gaining any skills. The pressure was, well, it was immense.
I mean, does it? Are you also surrounded by a pile of unread AI guides, wondering where on earth you're supposed to actually start? It's a really common feeling, this paralysis of having way too many options and just not enough direction.
My big breakthrough came from a simple, crucial mental shift. I remember I was dreading having to announce a strategy change to 3 different teams: engineering, leadership, and sales. And instead of trying to get Gemini to, make the decision for me, I asked it to help me translate my one decision into 3 different tailored messages. And that's when it clicked. Its power isn't replacement, it's translation.
So after that breakthrough, I developed this really simple mental model to make Gemini useful every single day. Instead of seeing it as this one giant tool, I started thinking of it as 5 different colleagues that I could call on for specific tasks. Let's meet the team.
So, we have the challenger who questions my assumptions, the analyst who synthesizes all the data, the researcher who goes out and explores the market, the scribe who perfects my communication, and finally, the intern who helps with all the creative and technical stuff. Let's see how each one works in practice.
First up, the challenger. This is my go-to for getting out of my own echo chamber. You know that feeling? So when I'm stuck on a problem like low completion rates, I don't just ask for solutions. I ask Gemini to actively challenge my core belief. It forces me to consider all these alternative root causes that I probably would have missed. Next is the analyst. Oh man, this persona is an absolute lifesaver for qualitative data. Instead of spending hours and hours manually coding user interview notes, I can just upload the transcripts and ask Gemini to pull out the themes, find supporting quotes, and organize it all into a nice, structured table. It turns a mountain of text into real, actionable insights.
Then there's the researcher. This is for when I need to get up to speed on a market or a competitor, like fast. I can ask it to do a deep dive, like analyzing how different music apps handle a specific feature, and then synthesize all of its findings into a clear comparison table. This saves literally hours of manual research.
The scribe, this is the persona that actually sparked my breakthrough. As PMs, we say the same thing to different audiences all day long, right? The scribe helps me take one core message, like a change in sprint priorities, and then tailor the tone, the focus, and the context for engineering, for sales, and for leadership. It makes sure everyone gets the information they need in the way they need it.
And finally, the intern. This is kind of for all those other varied tasks. It can create a quick mood board, it can build a prototype like the one we saw earlier, or, and this is brilliant, it can translate complex technical concepts. Asking it to explain microservices like I'm a PM gives me exactly the product-focused context I need without all the jargon.
Okay, so the personas are a great mental model, but what about the day-to-day tactics? Let's get into the really practical tips that leveled up my usage in a big way.
First off, model selection is critical. Use Flash for the quick, simple things, like drafting an email.
It's super fast. But for anything that requires deep thinking, analysis, or synthesis, like analyzing those user interviews, you have to switch to 2.5 Pro. The difference in the quality of reasoning is just night and day.
Now, let's talk about prompting. Please forget all those lists of magic prompts. The single biggest game changer for me was using voice input. I just talk to it, conversationally, like I'm explaining my problem out loud to a coworker. Typing kind of crystallizes your thoughts too early, talking keeps them fluid. And I always treat its output as a first draft, and I always start a new chat for a new task to keep the context clean.
All right, here's the most powerful feature most PMs don't even know about, gems. Think of a gem as your own custom-built AI assistant for a specific, recurring task. You give it a set of instructions, a role to play, and maybe some documents, and it saves that whole configuration so you never have to repeat yourself.
And creating one is super straightforward. For example, you could build a user feedback summarizer. You just give it a name, define its job in plain English, maybe upload a template you like to use, and then save it. From then on, whenever you need to summarize feedback, you just activate that gem. It already knows exactly what to do and how you want the output formatted. It's a huge time saver for those repetitive tasks. Okay, we've covered the mindset, the framework, and the tactics. Now for the most important part. It's time to stop learning about AI and actually start using it.
Here is your 5-step plan to start right now. If your company uses Google Workspace, you already have access. So open Gemini, enable the Workspace extension in Settings, and choose the 2.5 Pro model. Then just pick one real task, an email, a meeting summary, anything, and talk it through using voice input. Don't aim for perfection, just start the conversation.
Look, the goal isn't to replace your skills, it's to amplify them. It's to have a thinking partner that helps you tackle that complex work you used to procrastinate on. It's a learning curve for sure, but it's one that's worth climbing. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What's been your experience so far? And if you're just starting, what's the first thing you're going to try?